Shaq said Steph Curry might have to be in the conversation for greatest player of all time. Social media posts started flooding the internet with Shaq's comments and people's thoughts. Now, we all know that Steph is the greatest shooter in history of the game of basketball. And basketball is in large part about putting the ball in the basket and being able to do it in a way that's worth 2 points rather than 3 points. 3 is actually more, believe it or not. I know most fans get enamored of guys like John Morant, Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook for their high-flying ability and penetration. But do you know what's better than that? Well, it's Steph. Shooting from deep, playing off the ball, and attracting defenses to you and being the greatest shooter the game has ever seen, that's important. So yeah, maybe Steph doesn't get credit as much as he should. I thought about Shaq's comments in the grand scheme of things, and does Steph need to be in the conversation of a greatest of all time? And despite him being one of my top 3 players of all time, I think the conversation needs to result around him being a player on Mount Rushmore. Is Steph in the Mount Rushmore of NBA all time? Let's discuss. So when Shaq was saying those comments after Steph Curry's game against the Boston Celtics yesterday, I sat here and thought, well, okay, does Steph need to be in this conversation of the greatest basketball player of all time? And is he the greatest we have ever seen? And it's really hard to say, like always, oh, this guy's the GOAT. And I've always made fun of that, right? Oh, the GOAT, the GOAT, the GOAT. I'm like, there's one GOAT. Greatest of all time doesn't mean my greatest. I like, who was it? Brandon Miller of the Hornets goes, Paul George is my GOAT. Well, you can't have your GOAT. Either someone's the greatest of all time or not the greatest of all time. So let's talk about Steph here. Well, is Steph in the Mount Rushmore? I think that is the more important question than is he the greatest of all time, because I don't think he's the greatest of all time, unfortunately, even though he's one of my favorite players ever. I would say my favorite basketball player of all time is Michael Jordan, and then Steph Curry. I know it's pretty, common theme for most people, but in general, those are my 2 favorites. But let's talk about the givens on the Mount Rushmore, and does Steph make the Mount Rushmore of NBA all time? So the givens are Michael Jordan. He's the greatest player of all time. I know LeBron James fans are going to sit here and, LeBron's better than Jordan, longevity. Maybe he's stayed in the NBA longer than Jordan. Jordan's the greatest of all time. Then you got LeBron at number 2. And I think those are the 2 givens, right? Like, no matter what Mount Rushmore you're going to build for the NBA greatest of all time, you have to have those 2 players in there, or it wouldn't make much sense. After that, I think you have to put number 3, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and I'm going to make the case here for Kareem. He is the 2nd all-time leading scorer. If you want to put him in for longevity, that can work as well as a Mount Rushmore. I think you can also say the way he revolutionized the game. He was great in college. I said basketball. I didn't just say NBA Mount Rushmore, like a total package. College basketball with the NBA, Kareem has to be there at number 3. And I think that leaves us with the 4th spot. And I think the 4th spot has so many moving parts and moving features. And I think you're going to sit here and say these are the candidates for the 4th spot. And I give it to Magic Johnson, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Kobe Bryant, and Steph Curry. Some people can make the case for Tim Duncan maybe being in there. I think he's way towards the back after those guys. I think Timmy was great. Shaq, if you want to put Shaq in that list too. But for argument's sake here, let's talk about Magic, Wilt, Russell, Kobe, Steph. So I want to kind of go here. This is a Mount Rushmore, right? We have our shooting guard in Mike. We have our small forward or power forward in LeBron, depending on where you want to play LeBron. Kareem at center. So I think Wilt, if we're going to go who's the best center of all time and build to Mount Rushmore, who's more dominant, Wilt, of course, put up some great stats, but he doesn't have the championships to back it up as much as the other guys do. So let's cross Wilt off that list and go to Bill Russell. Bill Russell, 11 NBA championships, but the league was much smaller then, so winning a championship, it was obviously hard, right? Like, people always want to, least favorite argument, oh, they played against plumbers. Like, shut up, okay? That's who they played against. That's what the league was. 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 years from now, I don't want people to look back at this NBA and be like, oh, they played against human beings, not robots. Like, seriously, that was the era, so deal with the era, whether you like it or not. Russell, great. I love, love, love Bill Russell. But I don't think he has the stats to back it up. So I'm going to get rid of Bill Russell, and then we're going to go to Magic Johnson. Magic, well, here's the thing. Magic is great. Love Magic Johnson. I'm going to actually have him fifth on this list. But Magic also happened to fall in the lap of the Lakers and play with the guy who's number 3, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I think that helped him so much in his career, and he didn't have the longevity, so I'm going to get rid of Magic Johnson. He leaves us with Kobe Bryant and Steph Curry. Now, Kobe, once again, he played with Shaq. Kobe, though, if you go look at his totality and love Kobe Bryant, had 1 MVP award. Kobe wasn't the ultimate teammate. Kobe, may he rest in peace, love Kobe Bryant. I don't think he deserves that 4th spot. And that's where I say it goes to Steph Curry. Here's the thing, why Steph Curry gets onto this Mount Rushmore. He's the greatest shooter of all time. He's maybe also either him or Tim Duncan, the most unselfish teammate of all time. 2 traits that on a basketball court I think are so immensely important. Obviously, the shooting is not an underrated trait because everyone talks about shooting, but the teammate aspect of it, the unselfish aspect of it, that's Steph Curry. And that makes him into the Mount Rushmore of all-time NBA players. Now here, so you heard it, we got Jordan, LeBron, Kareem, and Steph as the top 4. Mount Rushmore, all-time NBA. Comment in below, who do you think deserves to be on this list? And if you enjoyed this video, here at the end, just want to ask you really quick to put a like and subscribe. But leave a comment. I want to know your Mount Rushmore. I know a lot of people are probably going to disagree with Steph being on there. But I think that is the Mount Rushmore of NBA all-time greats.